Welcome to lesson number 2, where you'll learn about variables. Now, if you've ever worked with a CSS preprocessor like Less or Sass, then you're already familiar with variables. These store values of specific data types. For example, you can store numbers, you can store strings of characters, and so on. So in JavaScript, things are very similar. To declare a variable, that's where you start, right? You declare a variable, and you do that with the keyword var. Now, following this keyword var is the name of the variable or the identifier. Now, you have to be careful when naming your variable because identifiers have specific rules. They can contain letters, digits, underscores, and dollar signs. They must begin with a letter. So for example, if I do 3 or 2 followed by some letters, that's not valid. The names can also begin with a dollar sign and underscore, but we're not going to use them in this tutorial. And also names are case sensitive. So Bob here is different than Bob with a capital B. These are two different variables. Also remember that reserved keywords from JavaScript are also prohibited from being used as identifiers. So for example, if I do var, that's not correct because var is a reserved keyword in JavaScript. So let's name a simple variable, let's say item, and then we're going to end that line. If you want to define another variable, you can do again var item2. But you can also do it var item, colon, and then item2. Now this right here is not a valid identifier because it has a space. So either concatenate them like this or use an underscore. Now, how do you set a value in a variable? Well, after you've defined the variables, you can call them like this, item equals, and you can specify a value. I'm going to say 5 here, and then item2 equals 2. I'm going to put a string. I'm going to say hello. So now the variable item holds the value of 5 and the variable item2 holds the value of hello, and this is a string. So how do you call these variables? Well, very simply by their name or by their identifier. So if I go back in our page here and I open up the console and I say item, that's going to print 5. If I say item2, that's going to print hello. If I say item space 2, it's going to give me a syntax error. So that's the easiest way to work with variables. Now, variables also have something that's called scope. And scope refers to the context in which these variables are available. If you define a variable like this, the way I did it, item2, they have a global scope, which means they are available globally. But as you'll find out in a later lesson, you can also create a local scope inside, for example, a function or a specific block of code. In that case, that variable which has a local scope is only available within that function or that block of code. But I'm just mentioning this right now. We'll go into in more detail further down the line. But that's about it for variables, just a quick lesson. Now, as I was saying in the beginning, variables can hold multiple data types, and we'll be learning about that in the next lesson. See you there.